Prince Loyd, a weak magician, is suffering a lot in front of some nobles who laugh at his situation, and the noble in question says he will give him a gift telling him to cast a spell before his death. But the spell he casts is ridiculously weak and slow, not causing the slightest damage to the noble. So everyone starts laughing at the boy's situation, so that Royal Goon fires his spell to burn the boy to death. But instead of feeling despair and anger, our hero was enjoying the torment because he always desired to have this type of power, but with such a heavy wish he perished into the air and then woke up in another world. He see lots of girls, but bro felt threatened and thought he should defend himself and made a spectacular show of overpower. He was born as the 7th prince of the Salem Kingdom, Prince Loyd, so the whole capital celebrate, while the maids in charge of him felt their lives flashing out. Then a few years passed out and Loyd grows up. The kingdom was peaceful and prosperous, but the maids were having a hard time finding their little troublemaker. He looks like a girl. But Loyd told the old man to stay silent and pretend they never saw him. The old dude wanted to take Loyd for hunting, but he had already slipped out of there. But one of them asked if it was important to gain connection with the youngest, who has the smallest chance of getting the crown. But the old man told his underling that Loyd is a magic prodigy who started learning spells right after his birth, and even refused to get nursing from his mother like a true gentleman. Even he blast a fire when he was born. They thought Loyd is a father of sorcery, but in reality he was just a commoner who was reborn as the 7th prince. He has his memories from his previous life, so he hunt to get knowledge about magic. But just as he picked his poison, his maid waifu found him and took his book. She's Silpha, and she's not just a caretaker, but she's also a teacher for Loyd. She teaches the guy swordsmanship. And even as a kid, Loyd was keeping up with her. Loyd thought it's useless since he's not in the run for succession, but as a royalty, Silpha told him it's his duty as a royal to be good with a sword as well. So Loyd thought of showing off to get out of her lessons with precision. He defends against Silpha with the same move that made her happy. But Loyd knew Silpha was holding back quite a bit, and more so Loyd was using control-type magic to direct the same attack she threw at him, which means cheating. But Silpha's swordsmanship was truly splendid, and he can copy her moves, but can't copy a grown-up body's advantages, so he decided to try out something to cheat. He grew the sword size, made his arm stronger, and finally levitated himself for height. He jumps in again, and started even matching up to her. Both round out equally, and Loyd knew if Silpha fight her mirror image, just a bit of improvised attack should be enough to catch her. But Silpha knew all along he was cheating, and beats him with a smooth killer move down to the ground. She knew Loyd used magic to fill in the gap, which makes her even more happy. She noticed Loyd use 2 spells at once, a difficult task, even for court mages, so Loyd decided not to tell her that he was using 4 spells in total. Underground way, and used invisible magic to pass through the guards, and apparently the door was sealed by the 10 most powerful mages. But Loyd broke the seal like it was a kid's play for him, and he saw his heaven in front of him and dives into the books of magic. But the book demon just woke up to intimidate Loyd. Thinking he's a kid, he tries to lure Loyd to unseal him, and in return he promised to give out golds. But Loyd saw through his empty promises that gold were of such low quality. Besides, Loyd planned to replace the seal and never planned to release him in the first place. So Demon threw in ancient magic knowledge as well now that is called the perfect bribe for a magic junkie, and now Loyd unsealed the demon with the magic key, and after coming out of that book, he attacked Loyd instantly to get rid of the nuisance. But the kid had already made a barrier, so Demon Grimoire tried to attack him again and again, and threw fire at him one after another, but it had no effect at all. Loyd had analyzed the properties of that magic and tried it out. It burned down his finger, and even though it was painful, it made him excited to try out more magic. Their demon made double head to double his power. He synchronized his 2 spells using at once with many formula and flow of mana. He gets excited. He wants to learn more magic from him, so Grimoire tried to run out, but the barrier had already been deployed because they were under the royal castle. Grimoire was trapped, and Loyd created many other barriers and cast a complete annihilation spell, so that took care of the demon. But he survived somehow, so Loyd first restored the whole underground library in a flash, and Grimoire survived. Because demons can't die by magic, so Loyd was curious, but Grimoire knew he has power of a god. So he pledged his loyalty to Loyd, but his appearance was a problem, so Grimoire changed it to a cute little goat to charm Loyd, and he told Grimoire to stick close to him, and while doing so he feels the bottomless pit of mana Loyd possesses, so messing with him is out of the question. But then his second brother comes to the library to meet Loyd, so Loyd tells Grimoire to hide, and there Albert walks and he invited Loyd to a shooting ground and used fire spell to shoot the targets. Everyone was impressed by his precision, and that's why Albert was expected to be the next candidate for King's throne. So now it's Loyd's turn to shine, but he wants to hide his powers to avoid power struggles, so he used a fire, then rotated it in speed and hits the target barely with a curve spell, and it's much harder than normal spell, and no one thought Loyd hit all of the target, but Loyd doesn't care about the criticism. But then Albert goes off. After that he got a wild idea to use Grimoire and his double incantation to mix human and demon spell, and Grimoire was freaking out because this magic freak is about to pull something impossible again. He absorbed Grimoire, which was impossible from the start. He syncs up with Grimoire, and there he tries to synchronize his magic with Loyd. But when Grimoire saw the terrifically huge calculated space of incantation, demon got his eyes ball out, and Loyd manipulated and exchanged his mouth with Grimoire. It was the way to recite two types of spell, and the huge chunk of energy started get submerged into one. A demon himself was getting scared by the little monster in human skin. And there Loyd got a success. Loyd got the urge to shoot the spell, so he shoots it into the sky, and while he makes that miracle, followers of Albert asks him why he's getting along with Loyd. They thinks he's useless, but Albert knew Loyd hit his target fair and square, so getting Loyd on his side will be helpful. But then suddenly Loyd made a hole in reality itself. It was a big mess up, so he took back his spell immediately. He is truly a monster. So the next day the hole was featured in the newspaper, and no one had a clue who did it, but Loyd noticed the rank adventurer and the news of them clearing dungeons, so Kid thought of going to one. For that he created a replica from Akron with a perfect body. But it's still hard to escape Sylpha's eyes. This one time Sylpha came to Loyd and noticed he grew 7 mm tall. She thinks about something else. She has waifu eye for Loyd, but Loyd had a plan and escaped the next day. He had Grimoire possessed that body and could talk through telepathy. Loyd separated and merged Grimoire's souls to that copy, and Grimoire could see Loyd with one eye, and he has to keep a perfect act around her. But suddenly he realized he has control over this body. But there Loyd tells him he's glad that he got Grimoire, as is familiar. Those words made the demon cry, but he acts as if nothing happened. So Loyd left the castle, but didn't knew where dungeon was, and there he saw a bubblegum girl was fighting with monsters. Her power was kicking the heck out of her opponent. And Loyd knew there are some foreign countries that uses Kai instead of mana throughout their body, and the girl knew Loyd was watching and called him out. Loyd wants to talk, but Grimoire reminds him he's the 7th prince of Salem Kingdom. Getting no response, Tao thought it's an enemy, but when she saw the guy she falls flat. Loyd created a mix imitation of his, and Albert gets young. She's 18, and she had a hard time finding a man, but now her springtime has come to end with this cutie. And Loyd still had intention of getting to the dungeon, so as a rank adventurer, he takes him there. She tries to impress Loyd, but he was busy snatching up loots. Then moving ahead, Loyd asks Tao about Kai attacks, and it gets into a nice talk. So Tao tells him that Kai is a sort of breathing technique, and it gives a destructive powers to the user. But there Loyd was giving it a shot, and Tao was trying to impress the guy, but she noticed Loyd was breathing heavily, and his lungs get out. Loyd imitated Kai training just by listening, and Tao freaked out, but Loyd felt the surge of new power in him. So Tao offers a helping hand to Loyd to learn Kai breathing. His smiling face makes her heart flatter, and in the dungeon our duo cleared the dungeon boss, and now they could get the treasure. And Loyd learns that chest quests could only open when the dungeon boss is beaten. There he was getting used to the Kai breathing, and Tao felt like she hit the jackpot for a life partner. But when she tried to open the box, a trap got activated. Loyd saved Tao in instant time, but when they defeated the boss, a hidden boss appeared. A lick But at the same time Silpha came to Loyd, and now Grim is about to have a rough time, but Loyd was in the dungeon preparing to fight off that lick. But Tao tells Loyd not to worry and just leave. She sends Loyd flying away from there to save his life. Tao was confused because a low-level dungeon shouldn't have an S-rank boss, because even a rank adventurers could barely defeat it, so she wants to buy some time so Loyd can make it out alive. Bro was flying outside wondering why Tao sent him out. He wanted to learn more about Kai from her, so he used his shield to stop himself on his way. He asks Grim if he should return back or not, but Grim was in trouble and tells to Loyd to get back home quickly, but Ta was fighting to death with that lick. She knew she couldn't win, and their lick spoke up. He knew Ta was using Kai. Because he ate a few people like her, that was enough to make her go nuts. But Lick was more surprised by Loyd because he had saved Tao from his attack. Loyd was a peculiar case because he learned Kai techniques from her when other people considered Kai to be low-level techniques. Loyd learned it with enthusiasm. So she again gains confidence by believing on her Kai martial arts. Like Loyd did, she cracked open the light's barrier with Kai blast. But she reached her limit with that. It was the end of her, and Lick thinks his little finger has more power than her. All out she attack. But no worries, Loyd stepped in right on time and saved Toe from blades. He was on fire to have a bombing fight. It was written all over his face, and he used Kai breathing. Suddenly Loyd started to mix his Kai and magic together. While the Lick kept attacking him, he takes a deeper breath to use more air for his Kai, but the barrier was getting in his way. So he shattered it. Lick thought he did it, but Loyd just wants to get more air for himself to use Kai and magic combined. He molded the two different powers into one. And after a success, he attacks and cuts through the Lick's magic blade. So for the second time he makes it thinner to extend its range and keeps up the attack with it. Loyd was enjoying all of the moment while Lick was getting overpowered by Loyd. Slowly Loyd was getting his blades thinner and thinner, and Lick made a barrier, yet it cuts him right through it. With it, the boss was beat. But the treasure they got was Junkie Knife as a reward. But the dungeon started to break down now that the boss is gone, so Loyd got an idea. He figured out the chest was the core of dungeon, which absorbed magic from magic item of adventurer who fails, and when dungeon gets beaten it offers a magic item to save the core to run away and collect magic power again to grow back. So Loyd managed to get a piece of its core outside, and the dungeon shrunk into the ground for the time being. There Toa was thinking Loyd used Kai in fight because that Lick was mocking her, but Loyd crushed her hopes because he thought it's fun there. He remembers about Grim and took off, and Ta lost the chance to ask for his contact. Then he gets back to the castle and saw Grim was beaten like a punching bag by Silpha. Grim obviously didn't know swordsmanship, and Silpha thought Loyd forgot swordsmanship, so she goes hard to teach him from square one. And this was the result. His pride as a demon was crushed. Poor Grim. But after he cried his heart out, Loyd showed him that dagger. He knew it was a treasure in disguise. He cut the enchantment done by Mage Master. It was a boost powers. The enchantment was infused with mana essence, so Loyd analyzed the properties of the essence and saw it takes 3 ingredients to make it. The last was made from Harati, made from monster core. But their dungeon core could come in handy then. For the next 2 ingredients, Loyd goes to his father and asks for a bag of silver coin. King surely loves Loyd, and he mixed the silver. Then he did tough training with Silpha. Loyd could get oil if he defeats Silpha. But still he was lost in the end. With this Loyd lost his chance, but surprisingly Silpha gave him the oil even though she won. Because the other day she was sad that Loyd performed so badly, but now she's happy that he's back to his full strength again. So Silpha thought Loyd would become an excellent knight in the future. There Loyd slips out, and now all the ingredients are mixed. But for the weapons he asked Albert for some spare weapons. He's a doting brother, so he asked his knights to give up all of their weapons on their hand. They can't disobey, so the weapons were piled up. One knight was sad because he just bought a new sword, and now he has to give it up. They didn't believe they would get their weapons back, because enchanting is hard. So Grim was cheering up Loyd, and he started making the enchantments. He was on full raging mode, but one wrong move and the weapons gets broken. So they tried many times and crushed many swords in their attempt, and at the end he made a few successful cases and told Albert that out of 120 he created 70 successful enchanted swords. He actually had 80 success, but Loyd tried to enchant double layer and lost those 10 swords. A top grade enchanter has a 10% success rate of enchantment, and Loyd was even beyond that. A knight didn't believe in Loyd that he enchanted his sword, but the moment he puts his sword in his sheath, that sheath got sliced in two. Albert's sword also survived the test, and Loyd wanted to see his mana enchanted weapons at work, so Albert thought of going for some monster hunting with Loyd, and Silpha joins Albert to go for a monster hunting. Let Silpha accompany them, for which she was grateful to him. Albert knew Silpha is Loyd's teacher and bodyguard, so he guessed Silpha might miss him, and Albert was right by seeing Silpha that happy, so he asked Silpha if she has feelings for Loyd. And Silpha warned Albert for his words, but there she sensed there's an ambush planned by monsters, and Loyd already knew that Kai breathing it makes a search area where he could sense anything. Then their knights were slashing those monsters like butter with the enchanted swords. It was so sharp even knights got scared, and Albert started praising Lord Lyd for his good work, and told everyone that they were wrong judging Loyd for his age, but Silpha already beat mostly everyone on her own. Then one of the monster targets the carriage, and Ta dropped in and kicked the monster off. She got here as she sensed a hot guy here, so Loyd was trying to hide his identity, but Ta was sure she heard Albert's voice from the back. She saw some resemblance of Albert and Loyd, but Silpha wanted Ta to make some distance from Loyd, and there the waifu begins to get angry at each other, so Albert puts out the fire between them, and he lets Ta join them because she could sense monster more clearly, and after that she learned he's the prince and apologized for rudess. But she was still searching for the hot guy she sensed, and the guy was hiding from her. He entered his tent and saw that Silpha was changing in his only half-dressed there. Albert tells Loyd that Silpha has changed since she started teaching him, and their knight were still enjoying the cat fight, and Albert knew and tells to Loyd that Silpha is in love with him, but still a friendly advice from him. Albert warns Loyd of relationship with women from personal experience. Then the girls saw the hungry guys were gawking at them, so they beats them up first. Then Silpha got dressed, and Tao tells them she was here to renovate the shrine, so Silpha wants her to get lost and do some work, but Loyd and Silpha sense something, and a monster attacked them. It was a bear wolf, so Loyd steps to the very back, and the wolf starts his attack. But their grimoire was thinking something while others were fighting with that wolf. There Albert used his magic sword and defeated the wolf. He was amazed with the power output, because even his sword was enchanted by Loyd had enchanted some extra spells in his sword. But their grimoire was sure he knew that a demon was sealed in that shrine. Then suddenly that half-cooked wolf got back up again like a zombie, and the reason was actually resting in his mouth. It was a demon who wants to mess around because he got free from that shrine after many years. He called for a monster horde to attack them. Knights slash them up, but they can't die and regenerates easily now. That was pain for sure. And Gore tells Loyd that demon was controlling them, so Loyd asked Gore about it, and he tells him that the demon is transmuting his mana to control them, and more so he supplies his mana to let them regenerate. So Loyd's intention were clear, he want to learn it right now. While others were in trouble there, the demon was making fun of all of them. But mostly he insulted Loyd, and Silpha got pissed off hearing this. Her presence was dominating that all of them stopped their fight. And that ignorant demon was still up with his insulting remarks. Even other monster were scared to move an inch, so the boss lady is ticked off and got ready for cleaning there. The demon was sure no one can kill his minions, but Silpha tells him to shut up because he stinks like a gutter. That was something, so the demon attacked her. But just in a flash Silpha had already cut down its legs even before it jumped. So the demon focuses his mana on Beowulf, and his control got loose on other monsters. Albert saw that and told Silpha to keep injuring that guy, but Silpha was already planning to do that. Then aside from them, Gore started to teach Loyd about transmuting his mana and told Loyd to shape the mana and color it, and then include a scent step by step. But Kid already did everything on a single go that even demons couldn't do, so they started to sniff that scent. While Silpha kept protecting Loyd there, she borrowed a knight's sword, and she got on Cloud N holding Loyd's enchanted sword, so the demon began to spew nonsense about Loyd again, and Silpha became a demon herself. The beowulf bit her whole, but she was so angry that she slashed the monster from the inside and used a sword skill from the House of Langle to come out like a goddess. She cleared out that beowulf and brought the rat outside with her demon-like skills. She was like the most badass waifu in that moment. And everyone knew one thing: never mess with this girl on any occasion. Then Loyd made his mana look like Celis, and she was ready to cut down that demon with her master's sword.
And even Silpha fell to that fog. Patsu the demon was sealed off for over 100 years. So now the demon turned the tables, and Silpha took a major hit. It would take Loyd and run away somewhere safe. The demon admitted that Silpha was something because everyone fell to his evil fog. Silpha was strong enough to endure it until this moment. But TKO was a different case. She wasn't falling for his trick. So the demon realized she was using a different breathing method to prevent taking MMA in, so they wanted to make TKO into his minion as well. TKO freaked out and punched him hard in the face. She says she only has eyes for hot guys, so she doesn't want to be on his team. She made a huge chi blast to get free, but a monster got her in the end. The demon said hot guys of her kind are useless. We can't even get up while he and his kind are fit and fine. There, Patsu began to release his mana to take over TKO's body and mind, but that was far from enough to make her fall. She felt the guy she liked was near. She heard that PSU planned to make Silpha his slave to toy with her, and he had killed the parents of those beasts and inserted his miasma into the cubs to make them think he's their parent. But Loyd heard all of his evil deeds, but Patsu couldn't understand why Loyd was unfazed. But Loyd himself doesn't know. Then Patsu realized Grim was a demon and thought Grim was protecting the kid and made that toy-type appearance, which is a disgrace to a demon. Grim had thought to give him advice, but it seems he should let him experience the same thing he had felt. Their monster attacked Loyd, but he started to use mana transmission. He made it extra warm and kind to release the control of that demon. Grim was so proud to see Loyd learn this spell, and there Loyd told the dog to throw up. TAO was now safe, and Demon Patsu still tried his luck, but Grim told him that those monsters now know what he had done to them and their parents, so they attacked Patsu from every angle. But he still beat up those beasts and stumped them brutally. Patsu threatened Loyd, but Loyd and Grim were like, what kind of nonsense is he spouting? Loyd remembered that a demon can't die by any sort of magic, and there Patsu showed his full power because he's not giving his mana to any beast. It spoils the whole area. But Loyd found it interesting that demons don't die, but still, there must be a limit to their intake, and Loyd wanted to find out. Then after Loyd released his mana, Patsu felt how screwed he was. Usually, Loyd restrains himself from ever leaking his true power, and Grim knew this fact very well, that no demons or their power could withstand Loyd. Loyd expressed his gratitude for being his test subject, because now he could use all his spells and powers to his heart's content. He is totally terrifying, and even Putin knew running was the best option, or else Loyd would put him in a cage, and he would never come out of it. Loyd started to make barriers non-stop to catch the rat, and Patsu was still speedy enough to dodge all of it. He couldn't even get a moment to take a breath, and Loyd could make 20 barriers at a time, but Grim could increase the numbers. So Grim got into his body, and both of the duo made a terrifying reach to get Patsu. They made a dimensional cage and trapped Patsu in it. There, Loyd observed that many monsters look different from their natural appearance, which could only mean one thing, the Chira experiment. So Patsu lost his mind and tried to bargain, but Loyd kept chanting his spell, and PSU was going crazy from the suspense. And there, Loyd completed his spell and cast 240 spells per minute. Now that's a true monster, and he wanted to keep it up for 30 minutes, but just 5 minutes was enough to kill Patsu. So the theory got proven that magic works on demons, but on a large or largest scale. Patsu couldn't believe that a kid killed him, and others were getting back up, so Loyd went off to cover everything up, and Grim gave advice to Patsu that sadistic nonsense won't make other people follow someone. Learn from Loyd. He does take interest in the things he likes to do, and that's why other people follow him. With this, the day came to an end, and everyone returned to the capital. Then the king praised Albert for beating the monster and the demon, but they had made up that Tao and Alberto had helped them defeat the monsters. So the king wanted to meet with them, but Loyd at that time made up that Alberto had gone that way. So Tao took off behind Alberto. Well, anyway, Albert gave credit to Loyd and asked the king to let Loyd join in on the fight for the throne. It would be more competition, but Albert wants the best for the kingdom. That said, he still didn't plan to lose to Loyd, but Loyd declined this because he has only one interest, which is magic research. He had brought back the wolf bear he met in the forest as it followed them, but Grim got jealous and became fluffy for attention as well. There, Silpha came in to spend her time with Loyd, and the king's son has an interesting future ahead of him. And now that's where episode 5 ends.
Yuya never felt like he could quite fit in this world, but he still yearned to make a difference. He was Bullied Boy, gained a cheat skill in another world, and became overpowered, then returned to the real world as the strongest. Even though he felt like an outcast, even though his heart was small, it was filled with kindness. One day, as he was walking down a narrow alley, he heard a girl screaming for help. Curious, he approached to see if he could help. However, as he got closer, he saw the girl being held captive by 3 menacing men who wouldn't let her go. Mustering all of his courage, Yuya stepped forward and confronted the trio. The girl went over to help Yuya, who was crumpled on the ground when the police arrived just in time to